Thanks for the opportunity and waking up so early to come here. I know some of you might have a late night tonight. Right, we're going to talk about sponsorship, and I'm very happy to hear that even from Doug, it's something that people are beginning to take seriously. Cool. So my agenda here is really about why sponsorship. What is it about? How has it evolved? I'll skim through that, and then talk about the successful models that we use on sponsorship, and we'll reference some of the success stories in demonstrating that and why we consider those success stories. So some of you may have seen this picture, but I think the point I'm trying to illustrate with that picture is the following. How do you reach a cumulative audience and shake their hand genuinely in a 12-month period? There are very few platforms that can give you that opportunity to have a genuine handshake with somebody over a 12-month period and be able to engage with them in a meaningful way. And we believe that sponsorship has the ability to do that. Now, how does it fit in the mix? It's either part of your company or brand strategy or not. Because if it is, then it's got the capability to build the brand, but also to drive the business. How does it build the brand? Very simply, it's about really creating an association, awareness, ability to grab attention from consumers or customers, differentiate your brand, as well as build brand loyalty with your consumer or customer. From a business driver point of view, and for a long time, sponsorship was considered to be only useful for the left-hand platform, in other words, the brand building side of things, without necessarily driving the business. We changed the game a few years ago and said, look, sponsorship can actually drive business, but obviously that's relative. Depending on the sector. In the financial services sector, it's very difficult for a sponsorship to drive business, because you're talking about a trust relationship between yourself and your bank or your insurance. Whereas in the FMCG market, it's quite easy to set up a stadium. You have pouring rights in a stadium and sell a lot of beer as South African Breweries does in cricket. And really that's what it does on the business side of things. You can have the direct sales and indirect sales, energizing your staff and incentives, build relationships with key customers or suppliers for your business, and in many instances, or some instances even, be able to lock business with customers or potential customers. For an example, if one looks at the World Cup, and I showed you the picture of before of people in a stadium. That was the Germany World Cup in 2006. Bernice was at MTN at that time. And MTN did a deal with Samsung for the Samsung TV phone. Some of you might remember that phone that you could flip and open. That deal was done in and around that World Cup. And MTN was the first one to break that phone into this market. And that was because MTN had started having an interest in the World Cup, and Samsung was also trying to play in that space. Let's talk about why sponsorship. Hopefully I can convince you when you walk out of here that it's a relevant platform to be part of your marketing mix for those of you that are currently in practicing as marketeers. But I think the key thing for us has always been the ability for sponsorship, as we say, to shake the hand of the consumer versus just waving to them. There is a spray gun approach that you, loosely speaking, that one gets through a 30-second ad, but there is an ability that sponsorship has, which is the one-on-one engagement with your consumer. It allows for a two-way communication, making it more effective for you to communicate and engage with your consumers. I think generates staff rather opportunities for clients and staff for an engagement. It allows for consumers to generally experience the brand and understand what is it that you stand for. So your activations around a sponsorship need to quickly translate into what the brand stands for in a very authentic way. I think Doug touched on this point very, very, very importantly. So a lot of companies in South Africa have moved from using the brand as a tactical platform into using it more as part of the integrated marketing strategy. And as you can see from that BMI research, about 81% of South African companies regard sponsorship as the integral part of the brand strategy. That's an important thing for us going forward. It means that we're moving from just it being a tactical vehicle that it has been in the past to a situation where all of a sudden it's becoming part of the brand strategy. It's becoming part of the business as a whole. So how have we evolved from the position where it was just a tactical platform into a position where it now is sitting as a central core of the brand strategy? Key factors have influenced this. First of which is obviously the globalization aspects of things. We can now experience a World Cup or a Tri-Nations or whatever it's called today, wherever we're sitting in the world, whether it's through your mobile phone or your laptop or your television set at home. All these things have influenced how sponsorship has evolved. Obviously, the economic downturn recently has had a huge impact on sponsorship spend as a platform and how companies approach it. So we've moved from execute whim, as we used to call it, where the execs of the company used to say, we would just love golf, so can we do that? To a situation where, in terms of the last generation sponsorship is about putting the fans, it's about putting your consumers first, away from, the me brand kind of scenario that we had before, where the brand needs used to take, absolute precedence over what the consumers' needs were about. A scenario where, in fact, about 5 years ago, it was always about, it's about us as a brand, it's about me, to a situation about what it's about the consumer, it's about what the consumer wants to experience. It's about enhancing the experience of the consumer and be able to engage with them in a very, very meaningful way. So sponsorship is about really, today, creating connections between your brand and the consumer and putting their needs first. It's about using the emotional aspects that the consumers attach to their passion and integrating yourself within those and creating a relationship with your brand with those passions in a genuine way. Because the way to do it is to create bonds with the target audience, but not with the event. A lot of the time, I'm sure many of you will relate to this, that the sponsor would be sponsoring an event or a platform, and it would be about the brand and the platform rather than the people that are sitting on the stands. We're having a planning session with my staff the other day in the office, and I said, look, for us it's not about what happens on the football pitch, it's about what happens on the stand. That's the focus that we need to be looking at. It doesn't matter what the referee or the umpire decides what happens on the court or the musician does on the stage and all of that. What matters the most is what the people who are watching or consuming the event are thinking and behaving. Because these people have the ability to control how they consume the event, when they consume it, and where they consume it. So if you don't pay attention to their needs, to their passion, to what they're on about, you're going to miss the plot. There will be 22 players chasing a pigskin on the park, and yourself as a brand, and no one else engaging if you don't look at them. In essence, it's no longer about, I love this event. You should love our brand too, because we love the same thing, or worse, pay attention to me because I'm here with you. It's instead about, we know you love this event, we love it too. We thought in a few ways in which we can make it better for you. So enhancing your experience of the brand. It's not about disrupting my consumption of that event or platform, sponsorship platform. It's about enhancing my consumption of that particular platform. How do we as sponsorship experts do that? So here's a few ways that we've thought how. Really, it's about what do you want to say about yourself. I had interaction with one of my clients the other day, not the other day, but a few weeks ago, and I kept asking the question, what is it that you want to say about yourself? Because we can't help until we understand that. And that got the room buzzing in a few ways, because the kind of answers we were getting were very diversified in a way, and we were not really getting to the bottom of what the issue was and really getting the nub of it. But once you understand what is it that you want to say about yourself as a brand, we can then say, what is the target audience or the consumers or your customers? What is it that they are interested in? Let's find that common platform then that we can have an engagement, an interaction, a connection. So, amongst the many models that we keep developing, we kind of like thought, okay, there's there's a way in which we can do this. One is, a lot of marketeers obviously understand a few things. We know who the people that we want to talk to are. We know what they do, when they do it, and where they do it. So, they watch TV at 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock. Those of you who watch Generations or Isiding or Gold or whatever it is, they do that at home at this time of the day, and who they are. They are between ages 24 and 35 or that kind of thing. And we know where they live. We also hopefully, as a brand, know who our target market is. We've done the market segmentation and all of that kind of thing. We have business objectives that are clearly defined. We have brand objectives that are clearly defined. But for a long time, the one thing that we didn't really understand and quantify was why do the fans or consumers consume the things they do in the manner that they do? What is it that drives their passion? What are the connection points between themselves and these things that they consume? Take, for example, a sport like cricket in South Africa, or football or rugby. Why is it that people will watch a 5-day game? 11 men plus 2, all wearing white clothes, running around, 2 of them running around between sticks all day for 5 days, and then there's no result. I mean, it's bizarre when you come and think of it, especially in today's conditions where there is a very materialistic, consumer-driven, consumptionist kind of attitude. But we still do this. I mean, South Africa has just wiped out England in the 3-test series, and we're all joyful and, front pages of the newspaper about this Test cricket team, which is now the number 1 Test cricket team in the world. It's great. It's fantastic. But why do we do this? I mean, I'm driving around in the Midlands the other day listening to this on Radio 2000. It's dry. And there's a lot of gaps, actually, when you listen to a broadcast of cricket on radio. Guys talk, and then there's about 15 seconds of nothing. Nobody's saying anything. But we love this game. We follow it, and I'm one of them. So why is it that I do this? Why is it that I will arrive at home after having gone out and taken a client at night and still switch on the television trying to get the scores of whatever football match took place, during the day? Why is it that we do these things? And so we're saying that as brands we need to tap into that. Unless otherwise we understand what is it that drives that kind of mentality, we are not able to construct, if you like, leverage plans that can resonate with the consumer in an appropriate way. So we did this study called Passion Drivers. We did it to 50,000 sort of fans across the globe in different sports. And really what we're trying to do was to identify different typologies that are going to tell us why people do the things they do.